it is what it is.
As Saquon said, right?
Yep, exactly. And I think that's a perfect segue to talk about our subtopic here. Staying with the Giants and Saquon for a bit here. Zach, what's next for Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants?
Yeah, so I'll repeat what I said off the top is like, I think the New York Giants right now, today, after what happened yesterday, are in their best spot as a franchise compared to what they've been in a really long time. And I just think it's so valuable. And what Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen did in their first year with this team, it changed the trajectory of the franchise, in my opinion. You know, we've been doing this show for a few years now, and up until this past football season, one constant, and even going back to before that, was the New York Giants were kind of a joke of a franchise. You know, they had a good 4 or 5 year span where they were just missing the playoffs every year. We know how bad things got with Joe Judge and Pat Shurmur. And then Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen came to New York right away, immediately, and started producing. Not only did they get to the playoffs, but they were able to win a playoff game. And I think those results really showed their owner, John Mara, that, okay, I can trust these guys. And I understand why it would have been a little difficult for a guy like John Mara, who's been in football for a really long time, who has been with Giant teams that have won Super Bowls. Like, I understand why it would have been a little difficult for him to trust his head coach and GM to make all these decisions after Dave Gettleman paid Kenny Golladay all that money, and after he paid Leonard Williams all that money, and after he drafted Saquon Barkley with the number 2 pick in the draft, when we know it really, like, if you want to draft a running back in the first round and you're close to winning something, that's fine. But that Giant team, it wasn't close to winning anything. And they drafted a running back with the number 2 pick, and they couldn't win anything really with Saquon Barkley. But immediately, Daboll and Schoen come in right away, and they start producing results. And I just think if they would have locked up Saquon to a 4 or 5 year deal, then they would have ended up like the Cowboys did with Ezekiel Elliott, like the Rams did with Todd Gurley, like the Jets did with Le'Veon Bell. And I got to be honest, I think it's a really important day for the Giants franchise to officially signal that we are past these prior shenanigans of just giving every good player all this money for no reason. They invested in Daniel Jones. He's their quarterback. I think he proved why he should be their franchise quarterback of the future this past season. And I think they're in a good spot. I really do.
I think when you answer this question, right, and you talk about what's next for Saquon and the Giants, I think it's a trickle-down effect. It's a domino, right? So I think we have to start off with Saquon Barkley because I do think he defines their season. Now, I'm not sliding Daniel Jones. You know, I'm a Daniel Jones guy. I made that very clear. I think he has a lot of potential. But, you know, yes, they upgraded at wide receiver. You know, they got Darren Waller at tight end and Paris Campbell. They got speed. They got Jalen Hyatt and all that. But I don't think they have enough weaponry to withstand a potential Le'Veon Bell situation with Saquon. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but potentially just throwing scenarios out there, right? So if he reports to camp, well, obviously that's not going to happen. But if he reports to week 1, right? What you said?
Give me a percentage. Do you think there's any chance he doesn't play? Because I think there's about, if this turns into a Le'Veon Bell situation, I think there's a 0%.
10%. Yeah, I say about 10%. You know, because like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with Saquon. He's his own man and his own agent, or he has an agent, and they're going to advise him to do it, you know, what's necessary. Listen, last year, they lost to the Eagles 3 times in the same calendar year. Okay? That should not happen. That's embarrassing. And I understand the Eagles. They had a lot of talent. They ended up going to the Super Bowl. But you should not lose to a divisional opponent 3 times in the same calendar year. That's embarrassing. That means that clearly the Eagles are better than you. Literally. If you lose 3 times in the same calendar year, right? And blowout fashion in most of those games. By the way, it wasn't close games. They are clearly on a different stratosphere from you. If you lose Saquon Barkley in that 0% that Zach is throwing out there, and that 10% that I'm throwing out there that he's going to hold out, your season is a wrap. You're not beating the Eagles. If you couldn't do that last year, not doing it this year, right? That's number 1. The Cowboys will leapfrog you as well.
How about this? The Cowboys, you know, you mentioned the Eagles beating the Giants 3 times. The Cowboys swept the Giants last year, and I'm looking at the results right now as well. The Cowboys have won, it looks like 11 out of their last 12 matchups against the Giants. Jesus.
Exactly. So you're at a disadvantage here. You can't lose Saquon. That would be the worst thing to happen if he literally says I'm gonna pull off a Le'Veon Bell that in your season. But there's a scenario I want to throw out here to you, Zach, and to the listeners listening to the show. Me personally, if you don't believe that Saquon is needed, right? Because clearly you didn't pay him, so you clearly don't need him, right? Translation: I don't need you. My team can survive without you. I got a great coach in Brian Dable. Yet to see a lot of experience, but he's getting there. He's
I think
getting
he
there. I
can
know
be
a
the
lot of
next
people.
Andy Reid. I've said that before.
A lot of people, possibly Zach, but a lot of people is gonna take that. Oh, he called them great. He's a rookie. He was a rookie last year. Okay, he's a good coach, right? I get that, but if you don't believe that Saquon is good, or you need him, should I say, you don't need him, fine, trade him. Trade him to Buffalo, right? Trade him to Buffalo. There's a connection that the Giants ownership have with Buffalo. Obviously, the Brian Dable connection, the ownership connection. Trade him to Buffalo. Buffalo needs a running back, right? They have about four on their team. They can give you one back and possibly a weapon, a receiver in return, and some, maybe a pick or two. I don't know how that trade dynamic is going to work. I just thought about this on the fly. But they have a weapon, right? They have running backs. They could send you one of those guys to pair with Matt Breida, and maybe you could, do something over there with your team. And the Bills, of course, they would want to do that. That would be like the 49ers getting CMC, a championship team with a window that's about to close with a great quarterback. Yeah, let's go for it. I think it makes sense. They need a running back. Literally, and it's funny that I'm bringing this up now. Probably should have brought it up earlier, but everything happens at the right time. Why did Buffalo not win a Super Bowl yet? Because they need a running back. So when we talk about value, we got to stop this. Oh, okay, we don't need a running back. Literally, they have not won a Super Bowl yet in a Josh Allen era because they don't have a running game. So you make the trade for Saquon Barkley. And if you're the Giants, you get another wide receiver, maybe Khalil Shakur or something like that, and you get a running back, maybe Naheem Hines in the deal, maybe one of those guys. Pick your poison, pick who you want, James Cook, and you rock out with that. I think that's a fair deal to me. And a team with championship aspirations will be willing to take on Saquon Barkley and win a championship. And now it's different. Look at the 49ers situation. Nobody's tripping on for CMC right now because he's in a great situation. They have another change of pace back in Elijah Mitchell. They got Debo. They got Ayuk. They got weapons. So they can afford to take on CMC. So the Bills could be able to afford to do the same thing because they have championship aspirations and they need to learn how to run the football.
So I think in theory, the idea is a good one. The only thing is, though, if I'm the Giants, I have no interest in trading him because you need him to win anything this year. That's the one thing we agree on. Like long term, I don't think the Giants should want Saquon for the next 4 or 5 years. But for this year, this season only, yeah, they definitely need him. So I think this is an interesting point where like the NFL is just much different from the NBA. Like if this is the NBA and you have a star player, you're not going to want to lose him for anything, of course. But if I'm the Giants, I'm handling this. Everything they've done so far, I agree with. The only thing is I'm letting Saquon rock out this year, earn him some money, and letting him walk, and then drafting another running back next year. I have no problem sacrificing not getting anything back for Saquon Barkley at the end of the season if I know I have him all of this year. And I do not see a scenario where he pulls a Le'Veon Bell because we have evidence that doing that could possibly risk the rest of your career. So also the thing with San Francisco and the McCaffrey contract I'll bring up is like I think where the 49ers are in a great spot and why they could take on that contract is their starting quarterback was Mr. Irrelevant, and they're not paying him anything. You look at the Giants and the Bills, both of those teams are invested pretty highly in their quarterbacks right now. So I do think that in theory it's a good idea, but if I'm the Giants, I would rather just hold on to him, let him ball out this year, and just let him walk at the end of the season. I would have no problem. If the Bills want to pay him when he's a year older and they want to commit to him for the next 4 or 5 years after this season when he hits free agency, be my guest. But if I'm the Giants, I have no interest in trading him because I know I need him to win this year and this year only.
And that's why when I reflect back to the arguments of the running backs and their stance and their arguments, that's why I see the logistics there. Because you need me to win this year. You may not need me long term, but you need me now. But you don't want to pay me now. And that's where we are. And that's the running back market. Maybe I am going a soft spot for these running backs lately, because I've been on the mic saying, yeah, you don't pay running backs, you don't pay running backs. Maybe I am going a soft spot, but my eyes are opening up to everything. You know how that goes. So I doubt he's returning to camp. Like, I don't think he's going to join them in camp. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm like 85, 90% that he doesn't show up to camp. Maybe 95. But we'll see if we show up week 1.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want answered, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.